T-minus 2 hours and 46 minutes and counting. We are currently now topping the core stage liquid oxygen tank. Again, currently topping the core stage liquid oxygen tank, which means we've reached the top of both tanks. Both of them are in topping. T-minus 2 hours, 40 minutes and counting. So we've just been given a go for the Kickstart LH2 bleed. This will give us our first look at the repair of the liquid hydrogen bleed line. That quick disconnect was repaired. You may recall there was a leak in wet dress number 4. And so they're about to flow liquid hydrogen through that line. In the meantime, we reach topping over on the core stage, liquid oxygen tank. Again, we are in replenish for core stage liquid oxygen. We are in replenish for core stage liquid oxygen. We currently have a go for LOX load on the upper stage of the rocket. Again, currently have a go for LOX load on the upper stage of the rocket. This would be the ICPS, liquid oxygen tank. T-minus 2 hours, 31 minutes and counting in the Artemis 1 launch countdown here at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. I'm Daryl Nail with NASA Communications. It's a little after 5:30 in the morning, Eastern Time here in Florida. We are with the launch team, roughly 91 people in Firing Room 1. 91 engineers who are at their consoles currently working this count. I've got Jeremy Graber with me. He is the assistant launch director to answer a few questions and get us caught up on the events thus far. And, well, I got to say, first of all, we've got 2 full core stage tanks. And so congratulations to your team on getting to that moment. We can put up a graphic that shows and confirms the level of those tanks. It was a little tricky getting there, but you got there.
Absolutely. Thanks, Daryl. And yeah, we are fully loaded on both the liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen tanks on the core stage, which is great. That puts us in a really good configuration moving forward. And we're currently in work filling the ICPS liquid hydrogen tank, and shortly we'll be picking up with the liquid oxygen tank. So moving along in fueling of the vehicle.
You can see here on the screen, 100% for either side. This is the largest core stage and propellant tank ever built, and you can see the capacities there. The liquid oxygen at 196,000 gallons, the liquid hydrogen at over 538,000 gallons. 750,000 gallons in propellant. It's just a tremendous amount to move, all in one operation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you think about it, we've got 2 spheres out at the launch pad, a liquid hydrogen sphere, liquid oxygen, and we need to move that propellant, those fuels from those spheres all the way to the vehicle. And there's a lot of ground equipment that allows us to do that. And our teams here in the control room have been doing a fantastic job tonight, working through challenges along the way. And thankfully, we're now here where we are full up on core stage.
Still have the upper stage to go. You mentioned LH2 is in fill. We're getting ready to start the liquid oxygen side. Talk to me a little bit. You mentioned the challenges. There were a few of them. First of all, kicked off with weather. And then we had a little bit of a liquid hydrogen, what appeared to be a liquid hydrogen leak. What do we know? Well, first tell me about the weather and then talk me into the leak.
Yeah, as we started to get ready to pick up with our cryogenic loading operations, we identified some storms just to the south of us moving towards us that had the possibility of lightning. And we've got requirements as it relates to lightning going into our cryogenic loading. So we just had to wait until those storms cleared and got into outside of the 5-mile radius around Pad B. Once that was completed, we were able to pick up, but it did delay us a bit.
About how much would you say?
It was just under an hour.
Just under an hour. And then when you started loading, of course, the core stage, liquid oxygen started up. Everything looked well there. Once you started filling the liquid hydrogen side of the core stage, we were in slow fill, transitioning to fast fill, and then we had a stop. And according to the team, we had heard on the NTD loop that it went over that 4% concentration of hydrogen gas inside the can. What do you know about that?
Yeah, so as that leak showed itself, the team did a great job and did their appropriate work to secure and go into a configuration that we call revert. And basically that takes the pressure off of the tank so that the leak is no longer fed with pressure. Once they did that, we did some discussion about it and did some troubleshooting to understand where that leak was coming from. And the team basically got back into a slow fill manually. Once we got slow fill going back in again, we got some more liquid hydrogen onto the core stage. It allowed for all of the equipment to kind of balance out and get to a very cold interface and a very cold tank. And all of that really allowed for us to see that leak start to level out and flatten out below our limits. And they were able to then increase back up to fast fill, and we have not had an increase in that leak throughout the rest of the fill. And now that we're at core stage replenish, we're in really great shape. So the team did a fantastic job working through that problem and getting us past it, and now we're moving forward.
You have equipment on one side at one temperature and the equipment on the other side at another temperature. But once you were able to get it consistent all the way across, you saw that leak level come down.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that's good work there by the launch team, and working through that and getting us to completely filled on the core stage. We're currently in the bleed on the liquid hydrogen side of the core stage, and that's important to condition those engines to the temperature you want them for launch. And you've got to establish that bleed, as I understand it, for quite a while through the countdown. You got your first look at the repair of that quick disconnect line that the launch team admittedly was concerned about going into this.
Yep. So that's work ahead of us, and we'll be looking at that closely as we move into this next phase of the work getting us ready for launch. And that'll be an ongoing item that we'll be monitoring and keeping a close eye on.
So far, so good?
Yes, sir. So far.
All right. And so with everything that has happened, the weather, the hydrogen, it all adds up. And the question now becomes, where are we at with the T0?
Yeah, so right now we're working through, we've got quite a bit of work left from now until we get down to our T-minus 10-minute hold. That's a 30-minute hold at T-minus 10 minutes. We're going to continue to press forward with all of the work that's ahead of us. As we move into that hold, we will look at all the work, determine where we stand, and then we will establish a new T0 at that time. And so, as I said, we have a lot of work to get to that point. We need to evaluate once we get there.
Any off-the-cuff calculation on how much time you lost and how far you might go into that window?
So our team is doing a really great job looking at different ways to optimize and find the right path to, ensuring that we preserve as much window as we possibly can. So at this point, it's better to just wait and see where we get to and make that evaluation as we get to that T-minus 10-minute hold.
Highly dynamic at this point in order to try and calculate that. I guess it could go either way.
Correct.
Okay. Jeremy Graber, Assistant Launch Director for the Artemis 1 launch team. Thank you much for coming over and sharing your knowledge and your information with us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks.
And good luck the rest of the way on the count. We are at T-minus 2 hours and 23 minutes and counting. This is Artemis Launch Control.